Good morning and welcome again to What Women and Men Need to Know. It's summertime. We're getting some fresh vegetables coming in. And my friend June Pewitt from the Hamilton County, Tennessee Extension, or they call it UT Extension Service, joins me this morning. Welcome, June. She hasn't been here for a while, but we're always excited when she can come south and join us. And she's going to be sharing all the new information about food preservation, because we know that you may have questions and have produce that you want to put away to enjoy in the wintertime later on, share with friends and family. So June's going to have the floor today, or the table, or whatever she wants to have, but she will be taking your calls today, and I will be assisting her to do whatever she asks me to do. So, June, welcome to What Women and Men Need to Know today.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here across the line. You know, it's kind of a blurred line right now, I think.
It's very blurred.
Right, and we have a lot of North Georgia people participate in our programs, and they're quite welcome to do that. And I've got some classes coming up on a little bit more detail, and they're welcome to come to that. I've got 4 classes scheduled this summer.
Because we have no one who is trained in the area of family and consumer sciences in Walker County, North Catoosa County, which is this most northwesternmost area of the state, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so
funding is tight. It really
is.
We're very fortunate. We've cut every place else in Tennessee Extension, but trying to maintain a 4-H position and a family and consumer science position and agriculture position in every county.
It's hard.
Yeah, we have
really
to sacrifice, but we want to meet the needs of the people. And
That's
I
right.
know there's a need for canning.
Yes.
And we're not talking just old school today when it comes to canning. There's so many cool new things, and I went out shopping and found some new products that were new to me this year too.
And June's going to share those new things so that will actually cut down your shopping time, because you may see some things specifically that you want to take note of, and you'll already have it. She's done your pre-shopping. She has a pre-shopping list for you now. So all you have to do is make a note of the things that you want to, that you see, that you want to purchase, and go out and get those. So she's really done a lot of work for this class, and I hope that you will get your pen and paper ready and take notes for those things that you need. You may have been doing this kind of thing forever, but the good thing is, thank goodness, they have made a few additions and improvements, things that will help you out.
They do, you know, and our soil compositions change. And you know what, 15 years ago, a consumer said, you know, I really like tomatoes, but I don't like those acid tomatoes. So we begged the producers to get rid of some of the acid, but guess what? That made them unsafe for canning, and now we have to add acid back, usually in the form of lemon juice or citric acid, whenever we can a tomato of any kind. So that's something a lot of people may not know about. But it really does make a difference, because you still get calls too about failures from the jars that just don't seal, and they open them and it doesn't look right or smell right, and heaven forbid, never ever ever taste a product if you think anything's wrong. And what's really bad, Helen, you can't always tell by looking at something if it's spoiled.
Nor taste it.
No, absolutely not. So you think about all these food recalls today from frozen packaged, you know, with sterile commercial environments, and they still get foodborne illness in it and the bacteria in it. So you can imagine putting some food in a jar like this, doing what you think's right. If you didn't follow the USDA extension recommendations, and you let that bacteria grow all year, just you know, that's a bad accident waiting to happen.
And heaven forbid if you didn't use those rules, June, and put all that time and effort and money into that jar.
You were just telling me about a family that canned several jars the improper way, and they paid for it, but luckily they didn't share it with anybody.
Right. And having done that myself, I mean, you know, been a canner and still do, it takes too much time, too much effort.
Oh my
And if
gosh.
you're buying the vegetables, it costs too much to ever begin that process without going the 10th mile
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is done correctly, and that is, first of all, using the correct information.
Absolutely.
I would never even begin if I could not do it. And people say, well, I don't care about that. I just want to know how you do it. And I say, well,
Buy the book.
Buy the book. That's
yeah.
exactly right. And that is absolutely correct. I have
Right.
always done it exactly by the book. No
Well.
shortcuts, no Susie told me across the back
Oh,
fence.
no, Helen, what young people are wanting to do today, because young people are excited.
Oh, don't tell me I'm going to put my head down. I know what you're going to say.
Young people want to know where their food comes from, and they want to grow their own food and go back to basics a little
Right.
bit, which we applaud, we want. But they get on the internet and they just find something in a blog or on a website, and that is
Or
not
Pinterest, because,
yes.
You know, that's the thing.
Those are not accurate information. So I want to thank the University of Georgia, because for several years now, they have housed the USDA research, education, online component, everything to do with home food preservation. And we're not talking just canning. There's freezing, drying, everything is on that website, Helen, and it's awesome. I go there periodically. There are videos on how to do stuff. Your friend Elizabeth, the
Yes.
chair of the whole program, she put some great things on there. Oh, like one recently, these new electric gadgets that you go and you spend a couple $100 for them to sit on your counter or take up storage space somewhere, and all it does is boil your water for you. She said some of them, and I have personally seen some that didn't come with recipes, and they're saying follow USDA recipes. Elizabeth was very adamant in that video that absolutely under no circumstances there's no research to prove that these recipes are going to work in that new gizmo. So I wouldn't recommend, I'd be very careful and do your research and make sure, speaking of research, make sure it's research based. And we're talking research is from a university extension program or from U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is extension also. And University of Georgia, you brought your So Easy to Preserve book along.
I call this the Bible of
The
food
Bible,
preservation.
and that's really good, and that's available online. And this is everything in that book and the University of Tennessee's book. They're free, downloadable online. We're having to start charging for our publications now too, to pay printing costs,
Right.
because we don't have the funding we once did. But either if you want to buy the book or you just want to go online, that is the source to go to. Everything you would ever want to know is right there.
While we're talking about this book, it is called So Easy to Preserve, and historically we started out with individual books like that. One on So Easy to Can, one
Right.
So Easy to Freeze, and individual books. And finally it was combined into one called So Easy to Preserve. And it has evolved into this nice washable cover book.
It looks like a cookbook.
It does. It is that thick. It's $18. It's money well spent because it's a comprehensive book. You can go online, as June said, and you can download pamphlets. Some of them are 2 or 3 sheets. It might be depending on the topic.
A recipe is one sheet.
Yes.
Because thank goodness Georgia doesn't get a lot of funding to do that, but they're still doing research. But they update the book periodically,
Right.
and you don't always know. And I can't remember which recipes I'm supposed to get rid of and so forth. So the book's good for the basic how-to. But I would go to the website just to make sure nothing's changed.
Yes.
And by the way, USDA has a almost same book, but the Purdue University keeps that on their website, so you
Right.
can buy it for about the same amount of money.
And Elizabeth has trained all the people at Purdue. So
Right, exactly.
She is kind of the food
The guru.
preservation
She
guru,
is.
right?
She is.
Did you have a question, caller? 7712. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I wanna.
I'm sorry.
Yes, you are on the air.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am. I'm up for a Auburn, Lynn,
A what?
and
This is not the swap shop.
oh, well, okay.
It's off the air. I'm sorry.
Thank
Oh, so they
Okay.
tuning in a little late there,
Yeah,
aren't
I
they?
couldn't understand what the caller was saying,
Yeah.
but there, you can, if you're just looking for, let's say, a salsa recipe, and that's
Yes.
all you need, and you don't need the rest of this book, you can go right online, look up a salsa recipe, pick out the one you want, print it off on your own home printer, and go right on, make your salsa and be done with it.
Right.
If
so,
you want some other, if you're gonna do green beans and that's
Yeah.
all, you can print off the
Yeah.
most recent green bean information.
absolutely.
And if you want to know how to operate a pressure canner and you don't know,
Oh.
you can download that information.
Oh, you can watch videos. You can take a free university online course at your own pace
Right.
that are just awesome. They're fabulous, and they were adding some more, and they even have part of the website for kids now. So
Isn't that
it's just
great?
it's exciting. They're doing great things. And Helen, if people need a little extra help, they can come to a class. And like you said, we've talked about trying to get some classes held in
Right.
North Georgia.
We're working on that. It's slow, but we're working on it.
But I invite people to come to my office. It's easy to find right on Bonnie Oaks Drive, the old Bonnie Oaks Orphanage, and in front of UPS and Tag and Title there. And we've got 4 classes this summer. What I do is a 2-hour overview, and we do canning, freezing, and drying, but more emphasis on canning. And it's not hands-on per se, because we don't have time for everybody to can
Right.
something, but we do a little hands-on that an audience member gets to participate at the end. But I talk about fun, easy things too, because after I've scared people to death about this big process, and you have to have one canner for one thing and one canner for the other, I say, but if you've grown a garden, or you've got some berries you want to make jam out of, there's so many cool new things that you can do. You can make jam, Helen, without even heating up your stove now.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is. Are you ready to taste something this morning?
I am.
Okay. One of the things that we do are freezer jams, and you can find those on the USDA website. If you put in University Extension food preservation, any recipe at any university across the U.S., it's going to be safe, because sometimes they develop their own recipe. This is a raspberry freezer jam, Helen, that is really, really good. And we'll get a napkin there in case she has white pants on. You can't see today, so we don't want her.
Let me get this big cloth here.
Okay, she doesn't want to. We don't want her to ruin her white pants. But I brought you a spoon, and you tell me how awesome that is. There
And
you
I'm
go.
just wild about this
She's got a big old
container
bean
too.
under her, a dish towel under here. She's ready. She
This
may eat
is
the whole
great.
thing.
This is great. I mean, you could take this right to the table.
Yes.
It is very attractive.
It is very attractive. And Helen, one thing, if you buy freezer jar products, make sure they
Look at
say
this.
for freezer use on there, because you can't take a regular canning jar and is that not good?
I'd do a happy dance if I was sitting down.
Helen,
Oh,
we
that
made
is so
that
good.
last October, and we didn't heat up the stove. It's been in our freezer at our demonstration
And the
kitchen.
color is still like you just did it yesterday.
It is. I've done peach jams that way, strawberry jams. There's a great recipe we give for a fruit medley with blueberries, raspberries.
That is beautiful.
And there are
Look
like
at
4 or
that.
5
Rick, can you
berries
get
on
a-
there. He got one of you
did-
eating.
Oh wow!
He
Look
did.
how pretty that color is. So vibrant.
You don't have to worry about it setting or anything. Now, what I did with those, Helen, I use, when you make a jam or jelly, you have to have pectin. And pectin is just a natural occurring product that's in a fruit. Okay,
Right.
They grow apples and extract the pectin, and it comes in either liquid form or powdered form. And this is a powdered form. It just kind of looks like confectioner sugar. And Ball happens to make this one. There might be some other brands out there. We're certainly not advertising for
Right.
Ball, but they are the leaders. They produce more stuff out there. But it's called an instant pectin product. And you can peel open the instructions here, and it tells you how to. If you only have enough to make 2 jars of jam, you can make 2 jars of jam, or you can make up to 6 jars at a time.
Wow.
So, and we have on, so if you can buy the pectin, it has to be instant pectin. It comes in purple, it says instant pectin on there. And then USDA, UT, everybody has their own freezer jam recipes that use regular pectin too. I like this one because it's instant. You can have that jar after you make it. You can store it in a refrigerator for a month. They never last a month in my house.
Right. That's, let's see, about 3 days.
Yeah. Or you can actually process some of the products and store it. Now let me think. The instant pectin, I don't think you can process that, but you can put that in the freezer for a year. It is safe up to a year.
But how pretty would that be on a block of cream cheese at
Oh my
Christmas
goodness!
time?
And they
Or-
make great gifts. You know, Helen, I do a lot of that and keep it in my freezer. If my neighbors do something nice to me, I said, "Here, let me give you some homemade jam," and they think I've sweated in the kitchen, you know, for
And go-
hours and so forth.
Wipe a little sweat from my brow.
Exactly. And now, Helen, if you're going to use the glass jars, which you would need to do for a jam or jelly, not plastic. Well, no, I take that back. They do make a plastic jar for. There's so much to keep in my
I
brain
know.
up here, you know.
That's new. New
It
things.
is, yeah. But it needs to have a blue label on here that says freezer safe. That means that jar is tempered to stay in the freezer.
Right.
So when things get bumped around, I don't have a huge deep freezer or anything. So when I pack mine very compactly, so that they're going to get kind of moved around, jostled around a little bit. But the these tempered glass jars, and these can be used for canning or freezing, they're not going to break. They're going to be, you know, they're the ones, if you're doing freezer products, you can't take a regular canning jar and just freeze with
Right.
it. It could possibly break.
And it could cause fractures that
That you can't, hairline
Right,
fractures,
that you
right?
can't
You
see.
can't see. And next year, if you decided you wanted to can with it, you know, that heat in the canner could really expose a big crack.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Another freezer product you want to go ahead and taste?
Yes.
Are you ready? You might.
Yes.
We should have probably started with it first. It's a freezer salsa. And this is really, really good if you want to hold that up there, Helen. And this is a good type of freezer container, the plastic container. And I know Helen's used these products too. These are another instant products, and these happen to be by Mrs. Wages. And by the way, if you can buy most of this stuff in big box store, hardware stores, but if you don't have these products in your local store, go to another one, because I went to several big box stores just shopping while I was actually going up on the north part of Hamilton County, and I stopped at the Hickson and Saudi big box stores, and they had stuff the one at Hamilton Place didn't carry. And you can always go online at Ball or Mrs. Wages or Kerr or any of these people and see what kind of new products they have. But this one, you do heat your tomatoes. You take the skins off of them. You can use homegrown tomatoes, and we do recommend Roma tomatoes for canning because they have less water in them, so you're going to get more of the meat rather than just a watery product. And she's going to be brave and taste this. I told
have pita chips here.
Pita chips, they're healthy chips, but you cannot tell that this isn't fresh salsa, and that's been in the freezer since the end of canning season last year. And isn't it good? It's got dehydrated vegetables in it, and I think it's the chili powder I figured out in it that makes it. And
Very fresh tasting.
it is. That again, you can make it from one of these mixes. You can put it in your refrigerator for a month. You can freeze it for a year, or if it's in the right type of can, a jar, you can process it in a boiling water bath, and there's a recommended time on here, and put it on your shelf for a year.
But I think the color is still prettier being frozen than processing, because
It
I've always
does.
processed mine.
The heat.
And I think the heat changes
Absolutely.
the coloring. And
it cooks it more. It cooks it more. You're
and for
right.
salsa, I like the fresh taste better in the frozen, doing it as a
Do
frozen.
you?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Because it is cooked, so your tomatoes are going to be a little mushier
Mm-hmm.
and all right. And back in the 90s when all the big major research was done, that was another thing that we found out. We changed the processing times on foods, that it's longer now for especially things like green beans and tomatoes specifically, because it takes longer, they found, for the heat to penetrate the jar
Yes.
and get there. So we want to.
So I just say, if you have beautiful jars of tomatoes sitting on your shelf, what would you say, June?
Make sure they're safe. First of all, eat them up this year, because we only recommend that you can enough or freeze enough for 1 year.
And if they're beautiful,
They've probably not been processed. I got what you're leaving. Yes, if
Yes.
you've ever judged a county fair
That's
and they
what
bring in a whole beautiful tomato that's not
Perfect
mushy,
in-
perfect texture,
yes,
like
intact.
it just came from the garden. No, it's not been processed, so it's
you know that
eliminated.
it's just been put into the jar, and the jar is sealed and
Well, sort of seal. The
well,
false
yeah,
seal is
right,
what I
yeah.
call them, because even though it made you get that
no bump.
no little noise there, and you think it's sealed, that can be a false seal.
Right.
So unless it's been processed
It-
correctly,
we
right.
we know. We know.
do.
We do know more than you think we know. And I'm always amazed, because there's that beautiful jar, and you just know that it hasn't been properly processed.
Yeah. Do you want,
otherwise.
speaking of new products, do you want to go ahead and
Yes.
talk about
Yes,
some
we
of
have
these
time
new
before the
products?
break, so we'll do
Okay.
that. I'm just amazed at those.
Oh
I
my
have
God,
not
these are
seen those.
brand new, and again, I found them at 2 big box stores and not 1 big box stores, but they're little packages, and they have just the amount of seasonings that you need for that product. You may have to help me there.
Yeah, here, let me
so I don't have to
hold one.
juggle
go.
them. And the instructions are on the back, and you can make really fun stuff, like there's a dill pickle mix, there is a salsa mix, and
Sweet Roma pasta sauce.
and a pasta sauce mix. They're like a ginger pineapple mix. And these, read the back, but it'll give you the processing time. And these were less than $3.
I was just saying to June, most of these have 6
They all have
little
6 seasonings.
seasoning packets, and the amount that you get on the package, you would have to buy a separate amount of seasoning
That would be at least $3 a jar
for the amount
that.
that's in
Yeah.
each one of these little packages. And June said each one of these cards is about
I think they were less than $3. Yeah.
So value-wise, I think it is a good buy, because of the amount of seasoning you're getting, enough
Right.
to do the whole recipe.
Right.
And,
that is a ball product, and it has ball instructions on it, but I looked those over, and they are in the same guidelines of what we recommend for UT. So we try to, balls in pretty much step everything, because they paid for that big funding. They funded that big research done in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
So they don't want to make people sick. They're
Right.
going to stand behind the research with that.
And there is an expiration date at the bottom of each
Yeah.
packet too, so you can take note of that before you.
Because Helen,
Put
those
those-
spices that have been in your cabinet 5 years, they're not going to be good anymore.
I know. So
So you need to use them up. And the instructions, another thing I liked about this, for the person that doesn't want to heat up a big kitchen canner or go out and buy a canner, some of those products you can put in the freezer for a year, or you keep in the refrigerator for a month. So read the label and see which ones are which. Or if you're gardening and you're not going to have enough to make a big canner full, those are good for just a couple of 4 pints, I think, or
Right.
something like that.
So there are new options to choose from out there, and
it's
that's
exciting.
Yeah,
All
it
this
is.
fun stuff.
And some of those that have the same processing directions, you could do maybe this pasta sauce mix and the salsa mix together if the directions are the same.
To process
To
them
process
at the same time. You would
time.
need to check to see. The chances are you wouldn't have them heated at the same time. May be the only drawback about that.
Right.
Because you do need, if you're processing, and processing we mean using this big
right.
bad canner back here, it would need to be hot starting out, because that's kind of counted into the time it takes for the water to boil and everything that's been included in that. So I'm not that fast. You've had more
If you
experience
had
in the
help,
kitchen.
I was just saying, if
you had help,
mhm.
right? And
One
in
person's
tandem,
working on one and one
exactly.
another. Now,
Yeah, that would
I was
save
just
some
saying,
time.
sometimes people work together on things. And
Yeah.
if you had, enough to do two canners. 7646, go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning. Did you have a question for June?
Ma'am?
Did you have a question for June?
Yes, ma'am, for either one of you, really.
Okay, go ahead.
When using sugar, in your jams and jellies or whatever, should you use the name brand sugars like Domino, or can you use the off-brands? Because the reason I'm asking, I had made some the pineapple preserves one time, pineapple honey preserves one time, and I had used the off-brand sugar in my, and it ended up turning brown on me. And I had a person to tell me that I should have used the name brand sugar. So I'm going to hang up so I can listen to you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Helen, I don't think the brand of sugar would have made a difference on that, because refined granular sugar is refined granular sugar.
And sugar's such a basic ingredient.
Right, right. I don't think that would make any difference, but I heard a honey and sugar recipe, so I don't know if it's a USDA recipe or something like that. And quite honestly, when we're judging at county fairs, sometimes peaches are going to turn brown. You put solutions in the water to help prevent that, but sometimes it still happens. And certainly pineapple would be just like peaches or pears or apples. It oxidizes and causes the outside to turn brown.
So I wouldn't think that a name brand sugar would have yielded any different
No, I would
result.
just make sure it was a USDA recipe, or if you're using a ball recipe or something like that, and you followed the directions specifically. You didn't leave the pineapple out too long or
Right.
anything like that.
I agree with June. I never think that a name brand is going to make a difference in the outcome.
Not on most
Pretty
things.
much.
Not on most things, but now maybe on your canning jars, and we'll talk
Well,
about
yeah,
that after
yeah,
break.
I mean, in a recipe,
Right.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah,
so.
we want people to
Yeah.
save money
Right.
too when
Yes.
they're doing these
Yes.
really fun things.
But
yeah.
I don't think that would have.
I don't think so.
something else
Yeah.
made that brown occur. Probably oxidation is the biggest.
Yeah.
Is the biggest cause of brown occurring in time and
Right.
oxidation. So
Right.
we're going to end on that.
Okay.
We're going to stand on and end on
Okay.
that and come back after the break. We'll have more information and we'll take more of your questions. So come back with us then.
We're on the air 24/7. A North Georgia taste of heaven. A fun place to be. And we're your family. You'll see TV.
For over 5 decades, your neighborhood ShopRite supermarkets have been the standard for quality and service. Locally owned means you'll find a smile on every aisle. Best meats at the best prices. Farm fresh produce and always weekly specials on a variety of products. Get the ShopRite seal of approval. Stop in and you'll see you can't shop wrong at ShopRite.
ShopRite this week, they have boneless chuck roast for $3.69 a pound, boneless pork loin roast for only $1.69, and top that off with some corn on the cob, 4 ears for $1, best I can count. That's 25 cents an ear. They also have Van Camp's pork and beans, 69 cents a can. Dole's slaw mix, only 99 cents. Now they also have, we were just talking about sugar, they have name brand sugar at ShopRite, 2 4-pound bags of Domino sugar for only $4. That is $2 for a 4-pound bag, cheap enough. They also have Curly's Barbecue, $3.99 for the Curly's barbecue chicken or pulled pork, and that's a good buy for that. You can put that in the freezer too. They have zucchini or yellow squash, $1.39 a pound, and still those sweet Vidalia onions are only 59 cents a pound. That's at your local ShopRite store where they still take your groceries to the car.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The same rules apply to financial success. Saving money is the first step towards financial independence. And at the Bank of Lafayette, we have an investment account for every situation. How much you save is not nearly as important as establishing a regular pattern of saving and placing of your money aside in a safe and secure place. Whimsical thinking and immediate gratification can rob you of a financially secure future and a safe and comfortable retirement. At the Bank of Lafayette, we can help you choose an investment account that will help you reach your immediate, short-term, and long-term goals. The one rule that always applies across every economic timeline and condition: the sooner you begin saving, the faster your money will grow. Bank with confidence at the Bank of Lafayette, your hometown bank for more than 110 years. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
At the Rosewood Assisted Living and Memory Care, we have everything your senior could want in a safe, comfortable residence. Several levels of services include short-term housing for weekends or longer, assisted living where the staff provides a watchful eye while preserving your loved one's privacy and dignity, or independent living where residents are able to take care of themselves yet have access to all amenities and a sense of security. And the Rosewood on Battlefield Parkway specializes in memory care for patients of Alzheimer's or dementia. Call today for a tour of our campus.
MetaThrift Pharmacy, located at 324 West Patton Street in Lafayette, across from the ShopRite. MetaThrift Pharmacy provides prescription drugs, including compounded prescriptions. They also have diabetic supplies, including custom diabetic shoes. They have lift chairs, potty chairs, shower seats, and other durable medical equipment. MetaThrift Pharmacy in Lafayette has a friendly, well-trained staff that will help you with your drugstore needs, whether you're on the phone or in the store. You may also leave your refill request on their automated phone system, available 24 hours a day. Make them your choice for your pharmacy needs. MetaThrift Pharmacy, 706-638-3114.
Hi, and welcome back to What Women and Men Need to Know. June Pewitt, my friend from the UT Extension Service in Hamilton County, joins me. We've been doing this for a long time.
A long time, Helen.
Let's don't talk about how long.
And Helen, let me tell everybody out there, you've always been one of my mentors, and I know
thank you.
still have extension people here in Georgia that look up to you,
Well,
and
thank you.
people in the county and surrounding counties still rely on you, especially with the staffing shortages here in Georgia.
Well, thank you.
And thanks for being my friend, and I can always call and ask you questions too.
I know, you wonder who do we call when we have a question? We call each other.
do.
Sometimes we have to go down the list.
We do, because we
do.
can't remember everything, especially
Right.
when it comes to home canning, because there's so much to remember, and it does change.
And we all have different experiences and different backgrounds. So sometimes one person knows more about this and another one about this. So we all lean on each other
We do.
for that help that we need. And,
Yeah.
and there's a kinship
It is.
that we have.
And
too.
we all want to help the public and keep them safe and
Right.
teach them the easiest way, but still follow on procedure and save money and all these things that we went to school for and we believe in. That's our values, and we
Right.
want to share that, with our clients
That's
out
right.
there in the
We want
counties.
everybody to be safe. That's
Yes.
some of my friends were together the other day and they started telling me things that they'll never forget that I said. And I said, oh, heavens, I hope you don't say that at my funeral.
I hope they make a book.
It's
I'd like to have
it's
that
like,
book.
You know, I scared them like you do, June, you know. So, but you know, if that's
Scared is in my classes. I scare
Right.
people to do the right
so
thing.
if that's what it takes, then I guess that's lesson learned.
Because Helen, there, and we were talking earlier, I think it's been 2 years ago now, there was a woman in Ohio that made potato salad for her church members at picnic, and she sent 22 of them to the hospital, and one of them actually died because of botulism, not because potato salad's bad. That's a myth.
And
you know,
it's not the
mayonnaise.
not the mayonnaise,
It is not.
folks.
Mayonnaise
It's
has
not the mayonnaise.
vinegar in it that's a preservative.
Right.
It was probably the potatoes that she processed wrong. It's usually the green beans that get us in trouble, or tomatoes, because those are more commonly processed. But this was, and I mean, you can't take it back. We can't take it back. So if you're one of those, I've done it this way, 60 years, my mother did it this way, that's up to you, but please don't share that with small children, older people, people that are sick, people with a compromised immune system, you know, with cancer or something like
nor
that.
anyone unsuspecting, nor
Yes.
who does not know. Let them decide
Absolutely.
if they want to take that chance.
Absolutely, absolutely. I won't take a canned product unless I know who canned it and I know they followed the procedure. It's that serious.
And I won't eat it unless I know.
Yeah. If
It's that serious.
Dinner on the ground is not it's what it used to be, is it?
it's
Because,
not
like we
fun.
said, soils have changed. We've bred the acidity out of tomatoes now, so now we have to add acid back when we do this. So, but we come up with some really good products, like those things you tasted. And
Yes, very good.
I mean, and they were quick and easy. I don't have a lot of time to can. You're retired now, and
That's
you have a little
right.
bit more time.
Retired and tired. But we were talking about name brands, you know, when I talked about the name brand sugar on the commercial, and as the caller had asked about in the last call we took. But sometimes we need to concern ourselves with name brands and what those represent.
And when you can take a shortcut
Yes.
for saving money. For instance, canning jars, Helen, never, ever, ever, ever buy them at a yard sale, at a flea market, even if you get your great grannies, unless you know how they've been stored inside, not in a basement or an outside building where it might get down to, you know, freezing, and even heat in summer can play havoc on the best jars.
Right.
I mean, they're glass. They're meant to withstand boiling water, 240 degrees, and then pressure in a pressure canner. But you know, you got to treat them with some respect
and care.
Yes.
Because we talked a little bit about the fracture they can get, which cause breakage. You can't see those.
Yeah.
Or if so, you wouldn't put them in there.
Right.
That's a lost jar.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
big chunk.
Yeah.
But this jar is old.
Yeah.
But it has been taken care of. So you want to make sure there are no cracks, no little tiny
Chips.
places that are chipped that your failing eyes can't see.
Yeah.
You don't have your glasses on, you didn't see that, but if you move your finger around the top, all the way around the top, make sure there are no places on it that you can even feel, because you can't see. You know, there's a seam. That is a valid seam.
Right. They had to put it together somehow.
Right. So,
And Helen, if it's damaged like that, store your buttons in it.
that's right.
You know.
Put a mark on it somewhere that
Yes.
so it can't get back
A permanent
into
marker
your,
on the bottom. That's a great idea. Yeah, and use it for decorative storages. You mentioned I went out shopping, and boy was I shocked this year, because it's really confusing, and I'm going to try not to confuse your audience, because I get confused a little bit with it. But we used to tell people, as long as it said Mason, it's a good jar.
That was what we always
Yours
looked
says
for.
Mason. They're embossed. This is a newer jar, embossed right along through here. It's hard to see that. Ball, Kerr, Golden Harvest. Yeah, you can see that Mason. See, right? Ball is the name brand. Mason is the type of jar. That means it is tempered glass. It's made to withstand the high temperature in the long-term usage and so forth. But guess what? Consumers said, we want to make pretty labels on here and we don't want this embossed stuff. So that's fine for decorating, but Ball even made some for canning. And it is so confusing because you're going to have now plain jars that don't have the word Mason on them that you can can with. And how are you going to know that next year? And like you said, mark it. So I think that's a great idea. As soon as you empty your jar, you wash it, you mark it, put a C for canning on it so you know that's a canning safe jar. That's a real good idea.
And you know, we use Sharpies a lot, but they wash off. You can get a paint pen that is actually paint in a pen like a Sharpie,
right,
and that will not wash off.
And you check it every so often to make sure it's still on there, because I don't know about you, but I can't keep up with all that. You know, if you had a specific place in a pantry where only the canning jars went or something like that. Another thing you have to be careful out. I saw these cute little jars. You want to hold one of those
I will.
there?
These are just in this little 4-pack.
Yeah.
And guess whose picture you remember? The Pioneer Woman. She does all that cute cooking. She lives on a farm. I don't know.
Oh, does she?
Yeah,
Oh,
she
okay.
lives on a farm, and
You have more time to watch TV than I do.
No,
Helen,
I've
so.
just seen her before. Well, she has more time to do stuff than most people who live on a farm, too, I can tell you. This is her picture over on your
But I will give them credit. It says, I think right there, not for canning.
Yes.
But if you take the jar out, it's cute, it's embossed, but it looks like some of the ball jars that are kind of decorated. Doesn't that look real similar? So thank goodness she put on the bottom of hers, you can't see it I'm sure on the air here, but it says not for canning. But you know what? I'd probably forget to even look if it was in my cupboard. So these are good for decorations or giving homemade candy at Christmas time, whereas this one is safe for canning. It does say Mason on it.
But if these were sitting side by side and you were in a hurry, you might just pick this one instead of that one.
Absolutely.
And especially if the lid.
Yeah, let's talk about lids too. Now, you saw that's a one-piece lid you just pull over there.
It is.
You cannot can with a one-piece lid.
Why not? That's cute.
It is cute, but it will not get that seal. So you're going to have to use a two-piece lid like that.
Like
this? It's going to have the lid itself that has this sealing compound around it. And
Do we still call this a flat? That's what we used to call it.
The flat lid or a flat, right. That sealing compound there is only good for one time only, and you get rid of it, okay?
And we used to press our fingernail into that because they could be old, and if you couldn't,
that's a good idea.
If you couldn't press it with your fingernail, it could be hardened.
I wouldn't press too much and still use it.
Just to make sure that it had some.
Because it can dry out. If they were in Granny's cupboard, but you don't know how long, you do need to use those up within a year or two also. Yeah. Then you have the ring, the metal ring that goes on there, and that attaches it to the jar like this. Now, you can never, ever, ever use old mayonnaise jars. Pickle jars, peanut butter jars. Those were manufactured, most of them are plastic now, but if you can find glass, they were meant to be used one time and put in recycling. And I have seen firsthand people can using those jars against my advice, and they lift them up out of the canner, and the lids and all the pickles and all those expensive spices floating around in the canner. So all that money and time wasted there.
But think about how many bumps they get trying to get to the shelf, or did when they were put on the shelf originally, and then how many bumps they've had since they were served that mayonnaise.
I know. When you're processing and your instructions that come with your canner, and that's fine to use your canner's instructions too, but it's going to tell you to make that fingertip tight.
Oh, but don't you need to get some strong muscle man come in and tighten that down?
No. What happens, Helen, when you put it either in the water bath canner like this or the pressure canner, it's going to heat up to get rid of any air that's in there. So the air's got to have room to escape between the compound and the lid.
So what happens if I get some muscle man come tighten it down, as people really think they need to do? So what happens if I do get someone to tighten it really, or maybe I've been lifting weights?
There you go. Untighten it before you put it in the canner, because that can keep it for sealing.
And
that
it
can keep
pops
it from
up right there too.
It does.
Buckles.
But sometimes it buckles, and the popping noise can pretty much tell it's sealed. But make sure you use the proper amount of processing time, everything the way it's supposed to. And I have some gadgets you've been playing with the whole time.
I want to show them this. This is I don't know why. If June and I had thought of this, we could be on the beach somewhere, and I don't know why we didn't.
So Helen, when you're processing stuff, you're going to put these little things down in a pan of boiling water and keep it on your stove with hot water. And you don't want to put your hands in there. Have you ever tried to get some tongs and pick those up?
And tongs are great, but they do not work well for something that is flat to the pan like this, and they're both flat, and it's hard.
So
somebody came out with this cute little gadget. It is a stick with a magnet. How hard is that?
Magnet on
Watch
a stick.
this. Watch this, Rick.
That just picks that right up. And then you can put it on your jar. You're going to take it from the pan while it's hot, put it on the jar, and it's okay to use your finger at this point. And just release it, and that's really, really easy to do. I know.
This is just the cat's
It
meow,
is.
I tell you. It is
And
great.
show them the other tool over there. I call that the handy dandy canning tool.
And look at this. This is not a comb, a newfangled comb or something you scratch your head with.
No.
But this measures your head space. So if the directions call for a half-inch, I can't read upside down, June. I think I'm on a half-inch. I can't tell.
So if it says half-inch, you're going to put it where it says half-inch, and that's you feel. See, I've got tissue paper in there, so you can see a little bit better. I've got too much tissue paper in that. If I were going to can that, if you have too much stuff in the jar, your air's not going to have enough room to expand and escape, and so it may not seal accurately.
That's right. Maybe it's less head space, so you go on down and even further, or maybe it's less head space and you could come up this far. But this gives you an accurate measure instead of saying, well, that looks like about a quarter of an inch. Oh, that's about a half.
And actually, your rings on here can help you measure too. They're pretty accurate.
But this is great.
It is.
Two things.
Turn it over on the end. Do you know what that end's for?
Yes.
Okay. Tell them what that's for.
We need to get all the air out of the jar because we're trying to create a vacuum. That's the whole.
Right.
That's the whole goal of the whole process. So this is smooth on all the edges, so it goes right down the edge of the jar.
If you see little bubbles in there, it's called a debubbler. So it's going to burst the bubbles so it fills in with the product.
So this bubble should start coming to the top, and then you come over here to the next and move that, and you're trying to get out all the air bubbles as you go around the
So what some people use would be a butter knife, and that conducts heat, so that's not a real safe thing to use on a glass jar. You don't need metal clanging against that glass.
And this is not going to cause any damage to your jar because it's smooth on all, and it's not going to bang against it and cause any fractures too as you go. So you got a twofer.
A twofer, that one.
A twofer, and these two things would have been greatly appreciated in the day when I was doing a lot of, but I do own them now, so.
Well, and they're hard to find. I bought them because I like to give door prizes at my classes, and I can't find them this year because they were really inexpensive. If you've seen them anywhere, if any of our viewers have seen these two things and wondered if you put this one behind one ear and this one in your hair. If you've seen these two little gadgets, they did have them at the big box stores. They did.
And if you've seen them around anywhere, give us a quick call and we'll run out and
get some. And Helen, the magnet. what I like to do that, if I drop my straight pins, from my
When you're
sewing and
sewing.
so forth on the floor, oh man, that helps me pick it up really
So,
good.
lots
so
of
it's multifunctional. Or
multi-purpose.
if you drop a screw in a little crevice someplace between a washer and dryer, you can maybe use that to get that out.
So lots of uses.
So those are some of the basic things you need to get started, or if you want to update your thing. Now, Ball and another company this year, and I forgot who it was, I've seen have packaged your 4 basic pieces of equipment in a little package like this. And I don't remember how much it is, but it's not very expensive. And I don't think you're going to save any money by buying it as a
kit.
a kit. But in there is you're going to be your funnel, which is going to help you when you fill your product.
And you
in your
need
jar.
that. You don't realize how much you need that until you start to try to
Right.
fit whatever you're pouring from into that.
Yeah, and Helen,
Opening.
I've seen a real fancy one that has the headspace measured on that, and it was so cluttered and dark you couldn't read it. So don't, and it was expensive.
Yeah.
So don't buy that one. And then that has the debubbler and the magnet in it, and then it has the jar lifter. Helen, tell them talking about burned fingers.
Talk about burned fingers. When you get ready and you have
Yeah.
boiling water in this, I call this a boiling water bath. I don't know
It is a
what.
water bath canner.
Some
That's
people
what it
call
is.
it the cold pack canner.
Yeah.
Well, it's always hot to me, so
And Helen, you need that for foods that are high in acid, because
Yes.
all you have to do is boil the water.
and you
'Cause
put your jars in here, and remember the water's hot, and it's even hotter when you take them out. And you put the holder that separates
there's
the
a little wire
jars.
rack in there.
And if
Yeah.
you think you can get these out without burning your fingers, you may be a magician. I don't know, but you move these back, and you take the jar pullers. Yeah, let's see.
I don't think they can see in there.
I
Yeah.
think we're just going to have
Yeah.
to. And I'm going to open this up because these are going to grip around the jar. And I'm not going to be on the phone when I'm doing this. And I'm going to take this out, and I'm not going to grab it up here by the where the screw band is. I'm going to get it around the neck because I don't want to damage any or cause any. There's still probably some air that may be coming out or something, but I'm going to get it around the neck rather than around the where.
Because you have to let it sit. And Helen, do
I
you
don't
have
wanna
those
get it here.
new fancy stone granite kitchen
No, I'm
countertops?
still in the laminate.
Me too. Me too. But if you do, you need to put a towel down first, because again, that cold stone against that
Could
glass
cause
could cause it to crack or
I
break.
have some trays that I use when I do
Yeah,
canning, and I put towels,
I do. Right.
towels on the trays, and that gives a cushion,
Yeah.
and they stay there until they're completely cooled to at
Overnight,
least 24 hours.
You don't touch them.
Don't move them, so
Don't
I
look
get
at them hard.
I-
Just let them do their thing.
I get them where they're going, and they stay right there
Yeah,
for
24
24 hours.
hours.
So that's what you need to do. Leave them in place. You don't need to
Yeah.
be shuffling around. That's why I don't touch this part
Right.
with the jar pullers.
Right. So it should be sealed, so you shouldn't be able to hear that noise there. You shouldn't be able to do that. And then Helen, this is something I didn't learn until a few years ago. You should actually store them without the screw band
Yes.
on.
Now I wait, like if I'm putting these on a shelf, I get them on the shelf. As I
That's
get
a good
them on the
idea.
shelf, I take them off. Then once I get them exactly where they're going to be stored,
Yeah.
then I take the screw bands off, because I also wipe this off. Sometimes you'll have a lot of cruddy looking tomatoes around
the food
here.
after it came out with the air. You're
Right,
gonna
as the
have some
air
come out. So
comes-
clean that off, right?
And
And you leave it alone
Yeah.
until next fall or winter,
Whenever
when you
you're
want to
going to
use
eat
it.
it,
So
yeah.
yeah. So Helen, while we're talking about the canner there, now this is the boiling water
now I'm going to
bath
hold
canner,
it up now. You see.
and it's got the wire rack in there that Helen will pull out in just a minute. we get a lot of questions about people that have these wonderful glass cooktops. And by the way, you can buy the racks. I've seen them at big box stores. The hardware stores carry those. And by the way, all these stores have told me if you really need a piece of equipment, ask, and if they've got it in their warehouse, especially the hardware stores, they'll get it for you real quickly, or you can order them all online.
Or a part for a canner.
Yes,
They will order for you.
because it's just a big pot. Except this one is ridged on the bottom. You can see there it's ridged on the bottom. Okay, if you have a glass cooktop, you have to make sure your manufacturer says it's okay to can on that, because you've got to keep it boiling at a certain temperature. Some new glass cooktops, they have a thermostat built in where it'll cut off so it won't crack the countertop. So check with them first, and even if mine said it was okay, which mine doesn't, I couldn't use the ruffly edge there. I would have to have the smooth top and one that doesn't extend over an inch from my my unit, my cooking unit there, cause
And
it'll
this
get
would have
way
to be
too
smooth.
hot. Yes, but they've got it. You can even buy aluminum, or you can just use an aluminum or stainless pot with a rack in it. All the rack does is keep it off the bottom.
Right.
That's all it does there.
And this helps
so.
to separate and lift the jars out.
Yeah.
Do you know our time is gone, but we
know.
almost got finished with everything.
we
We
did,
hope
yeah.
you have a list now of things so you're going to update your equipment so that you can get the very best quality.
Right, and they can
possible.
call my office at 423-855-6113 if they want to come to our class. I've got 2 scheduled for June the 27th, one from 10 to 12 and one from 6 to 8, and then another one scheduled, 2 scheduled on August 1st at 10 to 12 in the morning and then 6 to 8. So we'd love to have all you folks.
So give June a call, schedule, get your name on her list.
It's $20, Helen, but that includes samplings and door prizes and a big, nice kit of instructions.
So
and lots of
can't
fun.
beat that.
And
Yeah,
lots of fun.
You might get to taste that good jam.
You will, yeah. And the salsa.
That's worth it.
It
yeah.
is,
So
yeah.
we thank June for coming and sharing with us today. We hope you'll take this information and use it so that you can have good, safe food prepared for the winter months.
Absolutely.
Thank you, June.
You're welcome.